And good morning, everybody. Thought I'd get in on this model cars and coffee best way I can. Haven't had time to do any new builds. I have to paint outside, and the weather has not been cooperating with me. I get a nice day where I can actually paint, and then I'm at work. Then I get my days off, and then it's raining and cool outside. And of course, having to paint outside really limits what I can do. So I was going to feature some die casts, some of my die casts, but then I thought, nah, I'll try and do a caption on model cars and coffee, kind of like what everybody else has been doing. So it's first time for me. I know some of the guys have model cars and coffee where they're showing builds they already featured, and then just kind of adding a different backstory to them, like what inspired you to build this a certain way that you did, kind of thing, I guess, for lack of better words. I've always liked these big cars of the 60s, and so that's why I built those. And this one here, the XL 500, a 500 XL Ford Galaxy. Yeah, I just added the striping to the scoop and the Ford lettering that were also in this kit. And I remember these cars very well when I was a kid. Saw many of them over the years growing up. And then of course my curbside GTO. See, I'll try and I don't have a turntable, so it makes it a little hard for me to show these. I have to keep picking them up. But when I first built this, it was pretty low slung at the back, and it looked all right. I could remember these cars being pretty low slung, but I just didn't like the way it sat, so drilled some holes in the chassis, which is all the one piece, and brought the steel axle down a little bit so that would give it some height at the back. 60s collection, I'll call these, I guess. Late 60s collection. Actually, yeah, you have a Impala, which is for 67, and GTO, which is for 68, was the car and driver car of the year for 68. And then the 69 Ford XL. I don't think it went by a Galaxy name at this point, but it might have. I always like the taillights on these particular cars. And then for this one, of course, I flocked the did some flocking on the for the carpet. GTO is pretty basic. I mean, it is a curbside. So just some, to me, a rattle can, semi-gloss black, and then some detail painting. And then also came with instrumentation decals. But yeah, I remember these cars. Neighbor had one. Blue 68 Sat in the backyard of the neighbor's house for years when I was a kid. But yeah, generally speaking of cars, when I was a kid, there was a 1958 Impala wagon we used to play in when we were kids as well. And then the other neighbor had we're talking the early 1970s here, early to mid 1970s. Then the other neighbor had a 1967 Mustang notchback. Or no, it was a 68. And us kids used to go play in that car as well. And years later, the neighbor, she was a lady, and she had a 72 Oldsmobile 442 in her backyard, and it sat there for years. And back then, you know, they were just old cars. And I was never really an Oldsmobile fanatic, but looking back on it now is pretty trippy. That car was just sitting in their backyard for years. And then these cars, of course, they were quite popular. But the ones I remember were all in a post configuration. They weren't in the pillarless coupe as you see here. And of course I modified it, you know, with a dressed up the engine a bit. And of course the interior too. Bought an Impala SS kit just to get the interior parts. I just wanted some unique big cars from the era. And of course I got my 63 Galaxy up in the, I don't want to show that, I already showed it enough. Added striping to it and stuff, but then my 69. I remember these cars well, but not in the not with the sail panel rear window though. Didn't see too many of those with that rear window. I've always liked the tail light designs on these. And then to give it a little bit of performance, I went with the dual carbs on the 429. I left the battery out. We'll just say the battery's in the trunk. And you know, I'm contemplating putting some different wheels on this, but I don't know. It kind of has character. The reason why I use them white walls and the hubcap wheels is because they just look so nice. Like, perhaps not on the existing build, but I just like the looks of them, and I felt almost ashamed to not use them, so I put them on there. And I can't remember what I done underneath with this. It's all, did I detail paint it? A little bit, but not much. But it was a fun build. Pretty straightforward build. With the scoop being pure white, it just kind of looked a little too toy-like for me, so I had to add the black decals, which are in this kit. Basically, I took, because this particular kit comes with either black or white flank stripes, belt line stripes. And so see the white stripe there? I used the black stripe that was included in the kit. So it had the black there, and then it being the Bumblebee Racer kit, it had black stripes. So then I just cut a black stripe there. And then the little Ford logos were also in this kit on the decal sheet. And then I just lined them up in the front to make it look as real as possible, or as convincing as possible. But, yeah, that was a fun one. But, yeah, so I never really thought of it till I put them all out here, though. I got 1967 represented, 68, and 69. But the 68 is factory stock, minus the paint, which wasn't this color. I don't believe this color was available in 68. In fact, I don't think this any type of similar color was available on the GTO until around 71, maybe 72. But I like the color and thought I'd drop it on here. Originally I was going to put it on my 71 Demon build, but again, with the Tamiya paints, you know, we just pick, right now in Canada, we just pick up what we can get that's left. So them all together. So we got a 67, 1967, 1968, and then 1969. Alright, thanks for viewing, and hopefully the weather will cooperate and I'll be able to get some new builds up, hopefully very soon. Alright, thanks everybody, thanks for viewing, thanks for subscribing. I'll try to keep this thing going the best I can. I'm new to this stuff still, like making the channels. I'm just using my phone. And, you know, I apologize for not getting any new builds up, but it's all weather permitting for me in terms of getting stuff painted. So, in the meantime, I'll just recycle these and kind of give a little bit of story as to what inspired me to build them the way I did. So, yeah. All right, thank you. Have a good rest of your day.